Hello, everyone. I'm Allison, and welcome to my weekly Meltdowns coverage of Survivor 40.
Also known as Tony's second season winning Survivor.
I just want to go on the record right now and say that the poop hat has been reordered for Tyler Lyons, and I picked the winner.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue a case for anybody else at this point. In my opinion, I feel like tonight wasn't Survivor, it was the Tony show, or Survivor Kageon Part 2. That's kind of how I feel about tonight's episode.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree, Beth?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Tony definitely got quite a winner edit today. However, I will say we've gotten episodes where we're like, well, Yule's going to win this. Oh, well, Sophie's going to win this. Or Sarah might win this. So that kind of thing. So I'm interested to see. Tony's had the most consistent edit all the way through. And with something like this late in the game, it's hard to argue.
But the best part is when he's reading the, what was it called? The
extortion advantage.
The extortion advantage, and he was all excited, and then he read it's against you, and he was like, "What is this? Is this illegal?" That is exactly what would happen to me.
Well, we have a lot to get into. Yeah. Of course, super sad to see Sophie go tonight. Ultimately, though, I do think that this, as much shit as I give Tony, I think it was a really good and intelligent move to get rid of Sophie here. I mean, I think that he's totally correct that like she's one of the biggest threats that he eventually needs to take out. So I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that was the right move here.
I think it's the right move, but there was a part of me that's like, you're going to piss Sarah off.
Yeah.
Why not just get rid of Sarah? I don't know. Like if you perceive them as a duo, who do you think is more likely going to want to work with you moving forward? Someone that you burned hard by not letting her in on her plan. You're supposed to be a duo.
Right.
Or somebody who was probably like, yeah, that really sucks that you did that, but is more pragmatic and practical. I'm slow-mo mode right now. It's crazy. Are you guys seeing me in slow-mo?
Well, your audio is totally fine. We're hearing you just as good as we always do. So don't worry. It's hard to like get out of the mindset of seeing yourself like a few frames behind, but audio-wise, you are right there with us. So
we're just going to finish. We're going to play that game where you just finish sentences and pass it on.
Yeah, it's a giant game of Survivor telephone.
That's right.
So let's just go through the episode here. So of course, like we start off with Jeremy like justifying like leaving that tribal council last week. Mm-hmm. He's saying like, listen, I had to look out for myself, and he reiterated it at tribal tonight too. He said, if I didn't do this, I would be sitting where Tyson's sitting right now. So as much as you guys are like giving me shit for it, like I think that we saw him like come to the conclusion that we did that. Like, listen, I'm not gonna give him like blame for doing this. I'm not gonna say like he shouldn't have done that or anything. Like a lot of people on Twitter have been saying. I think that Jeremy is totally right to really look out for himself here, because I feel like left and right this season we keep seeing people. And we saw it tonight. We see people that are going home and not playing the stuff that they have. So Jeremy took his fate into his own hands last week, and we saw it paid out for him.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that Jeremy was smart to do that in front of the jury because, as we saw, some of the jury was actually judging him for it, including people that we thought were close to them, like a Wendell or a Rob even. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out. I think this has been a really interesting season in that people have as big of a target and as big of a recoil on big actions based on how big their personality is.
Right.
I would argue that Denise, for example, had one of the biggest things in the plays in the game. And it really didn't recoil that hard on her. But I have a feeling this is going to recoil on Tony. Now, I think that Tony's an adept enough player that he'll be able to handle that.
Yeah, talk his way out of it like he always does.
Well, what's frustrating to me is that like we have like half of the people left are like identifying like Tony is this big target. Like we have to do something about him soon. Like they are really onto his games. Like we even saw Kim tonight. She's like, I see that Tony's trying to warm up to us. I see that he's trying to get on our side just for a vote. Like she's really seeing like right through his obviously like transparent gameplay here. But on the other side, like he just has like some of these people so misted, almost like a Dan and Big Brother type of situation. Like I'm so frustrated. I just want to like shake Nick and Ben and Jeremy. Like I don't understand like why they are enabling this guy so much to do so much in this game.
I really feel like Nick is tapping into that inner super fan and is like, wow, Tony Vlachos is coming to me and needs help. Like there's that part of him. I think Ben is too trusting to a fault. We've seen it throughout the entirety of the season. Jeremy's the one that shocks me the most.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sitting back and I'm like, they didn't reveal this, I don't think, but Tony got 2 fire tokens back. Which one of the 3 did not get paid? And you should have that as a red flag if you didn't get paid right back and you saw him get 2 fire tokens.
Yeah.
If you know that he gave out 3, you better be knowing where he paid off the other 2. So if you're Jeremy and he paid off Ben and Nick first, that should be a red flag for you.
That's a really good point.
And he paid off Ben and Jeremy first, that should be a red flag for you. And same with Nick or with Ben.
Do you think that he gave the fire tokens back to anybody, or do you think he just kept them?
I don't know. Like he said he was going to repay them, but we never saw who he repaid and what the reaction was like.
Did he have to send them back to Edge of Extinction? That's what I thought. I thought he had to send them to the Edge of Extinction.
He sent the 6 to them, but like after he won the immunity, he got 2 fire tokens because of that. And he promised all 3 people, I'm going to give you this fire token back if I win this immunity. So who is he shorting on this deal because he only has 2 to give back?
And that should be a red flag. I'm sorry, if I'm giving you what I think is powerful currency in this game out of my own free will and you don't pay me back when I see you've gotten 2 tokens, you're on my shit list and I'm targeting you. Or at the very least, you can't do that this time around, but you're keeping that in the back of your head and trying to set Tony up so that he doesn't have power for next week.
Yeah. And I think that he likely didn't pay Jeremy back because he used this information to like get back in his good graces instead of like giving him that fire token back. So I don't know, but it's very frustrating. I don't want Tony to be the next 2-time winner, but here we are, and we are like full throttle going towards it. Why?
Why?
I just am not a fan of the chaos, Allison. It's very like we saw Sarah identify like I love like all season long we've been catching up with their dynamic and Sarah did a really great job comparing and contrasting the differences in gameplay between her and Tony tonight. You know, she said Tony's like full speed 100% at all times. He's crazy. He's chaotic. He takes this game like way too seriously, which is really fun, entertaining television for us. But I just don't think that it's a good, reliable, safe strategy to get to the end. It's very chaotic, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to catch up to you and take you out like sooner rather than later. Where Sarah, like she's really been doing a great job, like cashing in these like really strong social connections. She's really strategic, very level-headed, and she keeps all of her game thoughts in these like really brilliant one-on-one conversations that she's having with people. So I'm always going to root for that kind of gameplay better than like crazy advantages, like running, hiding in like shrubs, like all these like insane antics, and it's just frustrating to see other people enable that behavior too.
I will say this though, Tony's game in Cagayan was very chaos oriented.
Yeah,
his game here has been actually very heavily strategic, using chaos to an advantage rather than just kind of flying off the seat of his pants. Like he's really kind of planning this stuff out. It was smart of him to say, I want to be the last plan that Jeremy, Michelle, and Nick hear before you go to tribal. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to be the last plan people hear, because when shit hits the fan, what's the plan they're going to remember the most? The one they last heard. You don't want to be the one that was throwing out names in the beginning. You see this in Sequester, you see it in Big Brother, all that kind of stuff. Things change, whether it's over the course of 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 days. So you want to be the last one, and you want to be compelling. Well, I thought Tony, it worked out for him, but what I thought kind of Tony didn't calculate was how reluctant Jeremy would be to turn on somebody who played an idol for him, Denise, and someone who stuck with him and didn't vote against him when they were in the the other DeKal tribe, Kim. And the three of them have worked very, very closely together. So yeah, it's going to take them a second to go, wow, they're actually going against me. Normally you want to burn proof of that somehow.
Right.
So,
well, Tony didn't even want to watch the fashion show. I mean, he didn't even want to participate because, Sarah is more than a funny, pretty girl. Because I was just saying, creative. That's how I wanted to start the show. Guys, I just want you to know that I am more than just a isn't-ary shirt. I'm more than a pretty face, and I'm more than the comic anchor of the show. I am very emotional and creative, and there's other sides. I'm like an onion, a rotten onion that you can't peel.
Well, Allison, since you're so creative and intelligent, why don't you answer for us? Why do you think Jeremy sides with Tony and tries to work with him over Denise, who literally played an idol on him earlier this season?
I'm sorry, I'm just stuck on you think I'm intelligent.
I'm quoting Sarah.
Okay. So you want to know, why do I think Jeremy decided to side with Tony?
Yeah, like, why is the conversation of we're lions, we have to stick together against these hyenas, why is that more appealing to Jeremy to work with rather than somebody who literally played an idol on him to try and save him earlier in the season?
Because he's freaking Tony. He has got the verbal gift of just getting people to do what he wants, manipulating you in the right way. Okay, let me lay it down to you. There are certain kinds of people in this world, and I just want to say that Kim and Tina said that I'm one of these people. So I'm just
that's high praise, everybody. That's high praise.
It's gonna go. There are some people that can say something, and everyone gets pissed off, and they're angry about it the exact same way, and it's brushed off because it has an accent behind it, or because the person's funny, or it is what it is. And I've been told I fall into that category, as where if other people say some of the shit that I said, they get in trouble. So I think Tony fits in the same category as me. He can get away with things that a lot of people can't get away with. He can say and do a lot of things, and people it's just Tony. It's just Tony. That's it. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense, and it makes me mad. That's the reason. But you're right.
Now,
what are you going to say, Beth?
Like, Henning put this in the chat, and I 100% agree. It's exactly the point I was going to bring up, is that Tony is the ultimate meat shield. We heard Jeremy talk about his meat shield strategy today, and if Tyson's going to be going out, who's the other person who's the largest meat shield for Jeremy out there? Tony. Yeah. We know that Tony's going to be chaotic. We know that Tony is going to get antsy and look for an idol. We know that Tony's going to be building what looks like spy nests next week. Yeah. Like, we know all this stuff. And he knows that as the game goes along, Tony's just going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. So why wouldn't you try to keep that energy in there in order to protect yourself from being the next one out? Mm-hmm. And so if he's coming to you and saying, this is the plan, you got to trust me on this, what does Tony gain for lying to him there and then? If the plan is really to get Jeremy out, Jeremy's going to go out either way. So why does he want votes being put on Sophie rather than Ben? Like, it doesn't make a big difference. So if you're Jeremy and you're sitting back and going, all right, I know that he really doesn't care about Ben. So why would he want me to change to Sophie if it wasn't actually true? I don't know. Like that's where
because he creates chaos, Beth.
I know, but he creates chaos in ways that benefit him. So you have to look at like what are the incentives for someone coming to you?
Yeah, it's just wild to me that Denise and Kim have put in like in Michelle. Like let's not forget that Michelle and Jeremy have been tight since like the very beginning, like on that original Blue Tribe. All of that gets put in the back burner to one conversation that Tony has with Jeremy right before Tribe. That convinces him to side with him instead. Yeah, we will get to this. I do want to talk about this because we saw that in the preview a little bit. But I do want to talk first about like just all of the advantage and stuff like that. But I think that Allison, I think that you are totally right. I think he just gets away with stuff because he's Tony. I know, Allison, you're shocked. I said that you were totally right about something. Had to happen.
I'm getting shocked by Tyler over the past few weeks with these podcasts. It's just like the amount of times he said Allison's right, or like he admitted that he was wrong to Puya. Like, what is happening?
It's good for Tyler to have been around me for the last 2 years, because if there's anything that he's used to watching me do is admit defeat and say I'm sorry a lot.
Listen, Allison, I'm also saying that my presence has all of a sudden, it's a correlation. I join and he's like, you know what? I'm not the know-it-all anymore.
No.
You will never drop that crown. Look, sister. No.
Listen, James Pratt says in the chat, don't hate on Tyler. I have your back. Thank you, James. Thank you. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Allison, I will say, I think that you're right. I think that Tony just has a way of talking and a way of convincing other people. It's like a magic spell or something. I don't know how else to explain it. And we are coming at this in an all-winner season too. So these aren't like total like fools, like people that don't know the game. These are people that have played, gotten to day 39 and win the game. And Tony is still convincing these people to side with him over people that he's been with since day one in this game of Survivor. It's wild. It's crazy.
It is. Have you ever noticed how, like when you were in high school or just in school in general, and there was always that bully that was nasty to everybody, and then there was that one person who wasn't really popular but just funny and could say anything or do anything to that bully, and the bully thought it was fun and never picked on that person. They just had that thing, and Tony's got that thing. That's just it.
Yeah, I totally think so. And but what's frustrating to me is how he's not able to do all of this without being totally enabled by Ben and Nick, totally enabled by advantages as well. I think Parvati and Natalie totally gave Tony the win of the season tonight by giving him like such a great speech in jury, by being able to say, I had to go to 3 different people and get fire tokens from them just so I can play immunity and win that immunity and then vote in that tribal tonight. And he would not have that move if Natalie and Parvati weren't so greedy on Edge of Extinction.
Well, let's actually talk about that. I mean, they said that they wanted to make an impact on the game and get tokens, so they chose Tony, okay? Are there other people that they could have gone to make a real impact on the game? And I'm actually shocked they didn't go for Sarah, who has proven she will do anything to get an advantage, and she's obviously in with so many people. So if they really want to shake up the game, obviously they shook up the game anyway. I'm just trying to think, like, if you're on the island, you know that Tony's going to go crazy in his own way. But if you want to shake up the game in a strategic way, that like with a really incredibly social player, you know that Wendell has already called out Sophie when he was in the game. There are people who have seen her play. That's the person that I thought they were originally going to go to. And then the more they were like, and you know, someone who's chaotic, I was like, all right, Tony, okay, they're going. But originally I was like, that might be something. Or do they go for somebody like Nick or Denise who have 3 fire tokens?
Right.
Which I guess Tony had 3. I didn't realize he had 3.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. But also, like, now, I totally agree, Beth, that, like, Sarah is the other person I think could have done this and probably succeeded in it. I think she could have gotten those 6 as well. But now Tony knows that Michelle has this 50-50 idol too. And that is just so dangerous.
No, he doesn't. He thinks that she has an advantage.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'm so sorry. But he knows that she doesn't have fire tokens.
Yeah, I will say good on her for lying in that moment so smoothly too. And because of this, like, quote unquote inflation, Tony's words, not mine, with it being like 6 fire tokens, she was able to get away and say, like, listen, I had to spend all 4 tokens on this and I did it. And Tony's the only person crazy enough to be like, you know what, I would spend 4 fire tokens on something stupid like that. So I believe it. Sure.
Kevin has a really good question in the chat. He says, now that, or they said, I'm sorry, I don't know your pronouns, but now that Tony has found an idol, do you think he will play smartly and play it next episode? I don't. Tony's very selfish when it comes to idols. I think he will play it for himself when he feels like he needs to.
Yeah, I think so too, and I don't think he's going to share it with anybody. I don't think Sarah will know that he even has this idol.
Yeah,
Tony's not going to share anything with anybody. He's out there at the butt crack of dawn looking for an idol, and Nick just crawls up on him, and he's like, "Yeah, go look at the water well." And Nick just goes and looks at the water well. Do you not know what that man has been up to at the water well in his past seasons?
Right,
digging spy shacks and digging around like a cat in a cat box. Give me a break.
I just don't understand how, especially Nick, who like saw him looking for the idol, like, why doesn't he use that information? Why doesn't he go like get Kim and like Sophie, like Jeremy, Denise, like all these people together and say, look, this guy is really playing his ass off, like, and Sarah and Tony are such a tight like 2 pair, like, let's take out like the head of the snake with Tony right here, and blindside him. Like, let's say he does have an idol, let's make him feel totally safe so he doesn't have to play it and take him out, and that puts Nick in a power position instead of playing for 2nd or 3rd place, losing to Tony here.
I don't understand why. Well, that's why it was so smart for Tony to go, I got to get Nick to be in on this plan, because if he can make Nick feel comfortable with him, Nick's going to then feel like, oh, if Tony found the idol, he would share it with me.
Yeah.
That's the read that Tony got off of him, which I think is pretty damn accurate. You know what? I actually really enjoyed watching Nick play in David versus Goliath. I'm not enjoying his game here. I find it very sloppy and kind of like he's entitled. Like, he's like, no one's playing this game, and it's because I'm on the bottom. Then the moment he's not on the bottom, he's well,
Beth, we've never had a vampire play Survivor before, so maybe that's what it is.
I know. Is he from Twilight? Which Cullen is he? Do we know?
I've never watched Twilight, so I can't answer that for you.
I feel like he's a Jasper.
But you see what I mean? Like, this is the content we get for Nick. This is the content we're getting for Nick. Is like, is he a vampire or not? And we get like Tony's perspective on everybody in one episode. You know, like that's like the difference in just the caliber of gameplay that he's playing compared to Nick. And I just don't understand how a previous winner of this game can't identify that like they're in this like beta, like losing finalist position. Right. I don't get it. I really don't.
And it's, you know, it's also a testament to what Tony laid out in the first episode, which is he's going to lower their guard. He's going to lower their guard and lower the guard. And then when they lower the guard, boom, he's going to strike and punch. And that's exactly what he did in this episode. And he's not going to stop pummeling on people now. Like, he's going to continue to go on. And I think we're going to find the very fast, chaotic Tony that came out in Kageon from here on out. He can't slow down. He can't go back into the background. He's not somebody like a Denise, a Kim, who can make a big move and then slither into the background. He's not that person. So I'm very interested to see what happens. And, you know, I think that I would be interested to see if that foursome of Tony, Jeremy, Michelle, and Nick stay together. I think that that's a pretty strong 4 for Tony and Jeremy. It benefits Jeremy. It benefits Tony. I don't see the 4 of them breaking up. I don't see anybody being able to infiltrate that.
What do you think, Allison?
I don't know. I don't know. Every week it's something different. It's like I don't even know. I can't even answer who's going to leave next week.
Yeah, it's tough. It truly is.
Nobody saw Sophie coming.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I literally, I'm sitting there with 4 cats now, and on the bed watching this, and I'm just looking around, going, "You guys watching this?"
Well, I feel like this is like a therapy session for me because I have another bone to pick. And Beth, I want to point this at you because you've been the number one like Denise stan this whole season. But I have a bone to pick with Kim and Denise. I don't see why they don't try to target Sarah here. It weakens Tony by taking out his number 2, and it also would appeal to Ben and Nick that would want to get in tighter with Tony. That like they kind of move up the totem pole with Sarah being out of the way. I think that this was, I just don't see why they were so eager to turn on Jeremy instead of trying to flip the script on Tony by taking out Sarah, who really they have like no connection with. I mean, we saw like that one secret scene with with Sarah and Kim talking about like they're missing their kids at home. But I expect better.
If you're Kim Denise,
Yeah.
you're trying to find any way possible to go in with the majority alliance, which includes Sarah. Okay. What they're trying to do is make sure that they're not the bottom of when a Michelle or Jeremy, whoever is next, right? And both Denise and especially Kim are incredibly perceptive people readers and can make those one-on-one connections with people.
Right.
So if they can get in with the majority alliance, and if a Kim can get in with somebody and a Denise can get in with somebody, all of a sudden they've got their foursome. They had to break away from that. So when they move over and they say, oh, yeah, let's just go for Ben, that's not somebody that I don't think that Denise or Kim feels like I can work with this person specifically. So therefore, it's not a big deal if that name gets thrown out there. Also, we can then tell the majority alliance that wasn't actually what we were going to do. We were just trying to appease Jeremy and Michelle so that they weren't in on the plan. I think it made perfect sense for them. It was just that Tony had a better, more influential plan that screws them over at the end of the day. I just think that was the better move for them to not try to stick around. Because if you're staying with Jeremy and Michelle, they're so convinced that Tony's on their side. Do you really think that they're going to be able to convince him to vote out Sarah?
But since when are they like so tight with Tony though? Is my question. Like I have to think that like it's not a relationship that's been cultivated for that long that they can't flip in a game for $2 million, right? Especially like looking down the road. Like if I'm Kim or Denise, am I really thinking I'm going to have the numbers in my favor moving forward if we take out Jeremy here over Sarah? No way.
But here's the thing. They can't take out Sarah. Who are they going to get to take out Sarah? That's my point. They can't.
I think Nick and Ben. But that's the tough part. It's like, I know. It's
no
a tough
way.
stuff. I know.
So if you're on the bottom, you have to go with what you think is the certainty.
Yeah,
the
all they have to do is convince Tony to take out Sarah, and he'll take care of the rest. And
you think that Tony would take out Sarah here?
I think if they could convince him to.
I think Sophie would shut that down.
Yeah, but Sophie's not there anymore.
So after this week, after this vote.
Yeah, after this week.
Yeah, I mean, in this episode,
sorry.
No way that Denise and Kim would have put that big of a risk, because that would have put a way bigger target on them rather than now, who's the target into next week? Yeah, Kim and Denise might get a little like BS on them, but it's really going to turn into, holy shit, Nick and Tony just lied to the majority alliance. Who takes their 2 spots? Denise and Kim.
Did you see the way Jeremy was staring at Ben?
That's how I stare at Ben every week.
Is that you? Okay. I feel he was stealing your thunder a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, Jeremy, I get it. I totally understand. It's fine.
I was like, what?
Matt says Sarah's going to be the new Trish. I love that comment.
Oh my God. If Sarah gets voted out and then it's her like Midwestern accent going, do you swear on your father's grave?
Allison, do you remember when I did that impression of Trish, like maybe like a year or two ago, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Tyler, that was so."
Do it again.
We're doing the pre-40 coverage.
It was like, "I will never, ever, ever use my father's name in this game, and I want you to answer one question, Tony. Is your father's name worth $1 million to you?"
Yes.
Well, you say Woo and Jeffra and Spencer? No, Tony. You answer for me, yes or no. Was your father's name worth $1 million? Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we're gonna give you some notes. I have you work on it a little bit, but that was really good. I need to get your full
I feel
body.
like I was in. I feel like I was in the movie The Godfather. A little good,
Ever.
little good fellas, a little Godfather with Tyler.
Oh my gosh. Who's most likely to give Tony just a total like ringing out in the final tribal council like Trish did? I think it's probably Sarah, right?
Sarah. That's
Yes.
I really want her like Midwestern, like Tony.
Yeah.
Tony, why did you do this, Tony?
Tony, I'm so pretty
horrible.
and so creative. How could you
so
ever
pretty
do this?
and so creative and
I'm so pretty.
sat there and you turned on cops or us? How could you?
I'm like so pretty,
Well,
so pretty,
okay, well,
creative.
I just don't understand like
I'm
why
pretty
she's
creative.
don't get it. So let's talk about tribal. Of course, like we saw Tony successfully get those votes and take out Sophie. So we were all wrong. Like we were all talking last week, like who's gonna strike who at first. Like, is it gonna be Sophie taking out Sarah? Is it gonna be Sarah taking out Sophie? They didn't.
Of course we were wrong, Tyler. We don't really watch this show.
No.
According to the comments, have you seen? They're right. Like we don't
Have
know
you
what
seen
we're talking
Survivor?
about. We don't watch the show.
I thought Julie Chen hosted this show.
I thought it was Love is Blind. Is it
Yeah,
wrong?
right. But so of course we're gonna see in the preview next week, like Sarah's like really saying like you sunk my game into Tony, like she's like really yelling at him. Do we think that this is the end of Sarah and Tony working together, or is there any kind of mending relationships after this? What do you guys think?
It's done. Tony's undid it. It's done, and he's gonna leave she's gone. She will leave before Tony does. Do you want to know why? Because Tony's going to win and you're going to be wearing a shit hat.
I think that it's the obvious thing that they're going to not be together anymore. So therefore, I'm going to say they are. I think they're going to get over it. Like that's the kind of season this is, where you're sitting there and you're like, well, obviously those two aren't working together anymore. And then the next episode, they're like, all right, I'm so mad at you. That was a great move. Should we work together some more? And you're like, what the fuck? That makes no sense.
So what I think is going to happen is I think they're going to keep I think Tony's going to want to keep Sarah around for at least one more vote. But then after that, like my question is like, does Tony really need Sarah? And
that's exactly that.
I don't think he does, because he has Nick, because he has Ben, because he apparently has Jeremy now. All these people that are really just like laying down and walking him to the end. Why keep somebody around who's playing a pretty good game? I
think that they set it up really well with this episode of Sarah being the point of view saying, this is not the game I want to play. This is my social game, and it's going really well. That sets it up that Tony's going to screw her over. I also think if she doesn't work with Tony anymore, the only person she's really close with left is Ben.
That's true. I mean,
more than he needs her.
Right. Like Tony has a lot more options going forward than Sarah does. I don't really see her working with like the Denises, the Kims, the Michelles of the world. So,
but here's the thing that still like I see her working with a Kim and Denise. Absolutely. Because I think what's going to happen is Kim and Denise are going to go, we just caught some shit. Sarah's putting shit on other people. The three of them are really strong women, and we haven't really seen it yet, but there was still a lot of chat about the fact that Denise and Sarah are from the same city in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is some kind of hometown connection, and you saw like just little things. Like, I never thought that like Denise and Sophie were really working together, even though I really wanted that to happen. But did you see some of like the things happening in the background? I always pay attention to who's hanging out with who. And like Denise was like giving like Sophie some kind of neck massage, like in her lap at one point. And like you saw Kim and Sarah talking in the background, like girlfriend style, like Kim doing the fashion
Sarah's
show
making clothes with
think
them.
Got that kind of relationship with them.
She's having a fashion show.
I think Sarah's one saving grace moving
Where
forward.
are we right now?
Right. I thought that was very weird. I was ready for like another like lyrical song to start playing. Like
You
better be strutting.
I'm strutting. I'm strutting.
Creative.
I don't know where the hell Sarah got these materials, but she put them together because she's talented and oh so pretty. She's oh so pretty.
And then it just
So I think that Sarah's one saving grace moving forward is maybe she can trade in her tokens that she's been getting for some kind of advantage. Like maybe Sophie is the one that wins like an advantage to send over to Sophie next week. Or to send over to Sarah, I'm sorry. Because we saw like Sophie gave her tokens to Kim and to Sarah. So we'll see how that plays out.
But that also to me tells me if Sophie gives her Kim a fire token as well, what does that say about the potential relationship between Sarah and Kim? You know, Sophie and Sarah were very, very close. Is Kim going to move into that spot as someone who's a smart, pragmatic, social player? That's not as like they're not exactly the same archetype, Sophie and Kim, but there are actually a lot of similarities. They won around the same time. They have a similar understanding of the game. Does she fit into that role for Sarah? That's why I do think Sarah, Kim, and Denise will team up with Ben, and I think it'll be that 4 against the other 4.
I could see that 4.
I don't see Ben siding with 3 women over like Tony and Nick. And Jeremy.
Well, you know, he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about anything tonight. He didn't want to talk about anything. He just wanted to stare off.
He didn't want to listen to Jeremy either. So if Jeremy's helping running that 4, is he going to work over there? I think that Ben's the wild card, and actually Ben might be the casualty then.
Could be. I think that Ben is pretty expendable to anybody. If things get like way too tough and everybody just needs to be like, all right, we just need to like come together on a name just to like get through this vote. I think it would be Ben before anybody. But maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part.
It's just you.
It's probably just me.
Henning also said because Kim, Denise, and Ben got blindsided. Yeah, the 3 people who got blindsided, this is a great opportunity for you in any traditional game to come together. However, this is not a traditional game, so God knows.
It could be the blind side alliance, the blind alliance.
Yeah, I just think that like if Tony wins the season, we're going to be pointing towards all the things that we saw tonight as why he ultimately won this game.
I don't know. I think we could point back to when he built the ladder and he got the breadfruit. I think that was the defining.
It's going to go all the way back to that flimsy little could fall and break your neck and back and every bone else in your bodies.
We're going to see you will be like, I'm voting for you because you got the breadfruit that I couldn't get.
You risked your life and limb on that twig ladder.
All right, let's update the brackets. So I saw my Sophie go tonight, so I still have Jeremy and Michelle. I think that I'm drawing dead at this point, to be frank.
Look at that.
Michelle still makes final 3. Like I think that she's a final 3 GOAT.
Yes. Do you see Michelle getting any votes at the end? What do you think?
No.
Here's what I'm hoping for, because you have the whole Edge of Extinction people as well. I hope that everybody gets votes, even if it's just 1 vote, because I hate when it's a final 3 and only 2 people get a vote. Like that really bothers me. Like, not because I feel like everybody should get a vote, but I'm like, what's the point of a final 3 then? Like, let's go back to a final 2. So I like the idea of a final 3 where like everybody gets a vote at some point, but like I want a contentious win. I want somebody to be, because yes, Weston.
And yes, Allison is in the lead. I guess hell has frozen over. I think I saw pigs flying outside earlier today. So let's bring up me and Beth's bracket. Tony's really bringing in the points for me here. You have 2 more people than I do, but I think that I ultimately still have the winner here. So I think it's going to be a really tight race, like down to just a few points either way. I really do.
Hey guys, I gotta step away for a second.
Okay, we'll allow it. As I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking at our drafts, I thought that Allison was waving, but she was taking off right as I'm looking at the screen, I see Jeremy going to like 6.
Okay.
I see Sarah potentially, if not next episode, soon. I think that blowing up at Tony will be the end of her game. I think that Tony will be a final 3 person.
Yeah.
And as I look at my people, I think Nick will potentially be final 3 because he's also kind of in that get carried along by Tony vote, or he'll be a casualty along the way. I don't see Ben necessarily going all the way. I see Michelle being a final 3 goat. And I think that either Denise or Kim will either get out soon and then the other one goes to the final 3. That's how I see that being done. And I don't think that they'll get many votes at the end. I think that if it's like a Denise, Michelle, Tony final 3, I see Michelle and Denise each getting votes, but Tony getting the vast majority. If it's a Kim, Michelle, Tony, I definitely see it. So I can absolutely see that. But I will point out that at this point, if Sarah and Jeremy go out soon, I will continue to get points. So even if you get first place, I might win. No.
Yeah. Do you think that do you think there's any situation where Tony is at the end and he doesn't win? I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that, there's still a lot of game to be played.
That's fair.
There's a lot of game to be played. And I would argue that if Denise and Kim and like if Sarah comes together or something like that, if they pull out a great move next week or in the week after or something like that, that'll be impressive. And they also have to manage the person who comes back from extinction as well. Yeah, right. So, you've got to be able to play with variables that we can't even see yet. But the pre-jury stuff that Denise did, that's impressive, but it's not going to win you the game. You have to do something bigger now. Tony had a very clear strategy pre-jury through to where he is now. He's stuck with it, and that's always impressive to a jury when you've been able to stick with your plan and be adaptive according to your plan. So I think that he stands a really great chance of winning. It doesn't bother me that he could potentially be a 2-time winner. Even though I wasn't a fan of his game in Kage-yan, I love him as a TV character. He's so funny. But I agree with you in that I think he kind of like stumbled his way to a win in Kage-yan. I don't see him stumbling his way to a win here. I think he's playing a really great game.
So if he wins the season, it's a more impressive win to you than Kage-yan.
100%. And not because he's playing against all winners, honestly. It's literally because he's had a very clear strategy from day one in the game where he said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to find idols, blah, 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 blah. He stayed under the radar. He's kept everything off of him. He's had his name thrown about, but it hasn't been actually the plan. Yeah. And he's been incredibly social. He's made great alliances. And even when it looks like he's about to turn on the biggest alliance that he's ever had, it looks like he's still set up. That is incredible social gameplay.
Yeah.
So
that's yeah. Who do you think is going to go next week? Let's lock in that official guess.
Okay. I think next week is Ben's week. We're getting rid of Ben. I think he's the wild card. I think it'll catch up to him, and unless he wins immunity, I think people will pile on him, especially since Jeremy said he wanted him gone. Yeah. And I think that they can get the votes for that. I don't think Sarah will go next week because Tony will want to keep her around for like another vote. Yeah. So it's going to be Kim, Denise, or Tony, or Ben. I think it's
going to be Kim. I think that she's really going to try to take like the big swing at Tony, and I think she's gonna miss and fall, and we're gonna see the end of Kim Spradlin in Survivor, which I never thought I would say, but here we are. So yeah, I don't want to leave with Allison not here, but I think that pretty much wraps it up.
I know.
I'm trying to think of anything else we didn't cover. I have like all my notes are checked off and everything. Pretty straightforward show, even though like there was so much strategy and stuff.
I think this was a great episode, and it used all the twists that this season has to its advantage in editing. I think the amount of time we spent on Edge was perfect. I think it showed how Edge of Extinction is influencing the game, which is what I hoped for if we were going to do EOE, that it was doing something that was advancing strategic gameplay, which clearly it did. We saw the power of the fire tokens. Fantastic. I think this was a really great all-around episode, and it had a great ending that none of us saw coming, and that's what I want. It gets really boring when you go to Tribal Council and go, Jeremy's going.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Holy shit. You know?
One thing I do have in my notes that we didn't talk about is I thought it was interesting how we saw Tyson say it's really hard mentally for some people to get over losing this game. And he said like he'll be fine, like Wendell will be fine, but he's worried about Adam. He's worried Adam's going to have a hard time. And then of course like we saw like his father saying like your mother would be so proud of you, blah blah blah. I think it's just something to look out for. Like maybe Adam is our second Edge of Extinction returnee. That's definitely something that's like on my radar.
I think that Adam needed the closure with his father for his Survivor experience. And if we know anything about Adam, he loves to make lemons into lemonade with the experiences that he gets. And I think that he's going to really relish the opportunity to be a juror in a season of all winners, since he didn't have that experience.
Matt said Tyson's pointing to an Adam return. I agree. Matt inadvertently like brings up a good point here that like it's Tyson that's pointing it out. Tyson's like the first Edge of Extinction returnee, so maybe that's a little bit of like foreshadow too. So I don't know. We shall see. But Allison messaged me and said to go ahead and wrap up this show. Her stomach's just a little upset. So I hope that she's okay. But Beth, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch and Instagram at AugustaWind11.
Alrighty, and you can find my Twitter at TLyonz, TLYONZZ. Go ahead and leave us a comment who you think is going to be the next one voted out. Always eager to see. And please, by all means, tell us politely that you think that we're wrong on everything, and we'll definitely hear out all of your thoughts as well. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review if you would like, and support us that way as well. But
like the video, give us a like here. If you're liking our content.
Yes. Also, if you missed it, check out our interview with Ovi and Alex from the Big Brother Canada, Big Brother US. It was really good to get a deep dive from the two of them and hear their perspective on just like how insanely cool that Sequester mini was. So definitely check that out too.
Fun. And I think that in a time where a lot of shows aren't going to be in production for a little while, this is a wonderful time for Sequester. So for those of you who haven't checked out Sequester yet, Audrey actually just redid the website. It looks fantastic. So go check out the website. And then Mike Bloom from RHEP actually made a guide. So if you're new to Sequester, you can figure out how the live game works and versus minis. And I think he put something about online games in there, but I'm not 100% sure. So I would check that out and get yourself acquainted with it, because you never know. This might be the new addiction that everybody gets hooked on. So.
And Joseph said Allison is at Summers 1977. I forgot, so thank you for that, Joseph. All right, well, everybody have a good rest of your night. Stay safe, wash your hands, cover your face when you go out, all of that jazz, and we'll see you guys.
Do that.
Yeah, please.
Going up to who are hacking up along, not even wearing a face mask or covering your mouth. Cover your damn mouths.
Yeah, cover your damn mouths. All right, we will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.